prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrindavanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapresthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today we'll be discussing the overview of whole Bhagavad Gita in around an hour or so. So this whole Bhagavad Gita is divided into three parts: Karma Yoga section, Jnana Yoga section, and Bhakti Yoga section. So first 6 chapters, they are Karma Yoga, and then next 6 chapters they are Bhakti Yoga from 7 to 12, and then further from 7 to 12, from 12 to 18, they are, sorry, I'll mute everyone just a minute. Okay. So from 12 to 13 to 18, it is Jnana Yoga section. So we'll start with our Karma Yoga section, that is chapter 1 to 6. We have discussed the slides, so we'll discuss it in more detail. So Karma Yoga means to perform one's prescribed duties and offering them to the Supreme Lord. So basically the work done with detachment from the results is specially called Nishkam Karma Yoga, and it consists of Jnana or knowledge developed by such work. So therefore in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which starts with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre verse, Dhritarashtra asks question to Sanjaya, what is happening on the battlefield? And then Sanjaya explains that Duryodhana goes to his teacher Dronacharya and he says how you have not done right because you have taught everything to Drishtadyumna. And then he tells, don't repeat the same mistake again. You know, you have told the knowledge everything to Drishtadyumna and he has now assembled such a big army. So then he counts who all are there on his side and who all are there on the side of the Pandavas. And then it is described in the side of the Pandavas as Krishna enters, Tata Shwetair Hayairukte Mahati Sindane Sthito Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divya Shankhav Pradadmatuhu. So after this whole description was over, Bhishma blew his conch shell and all the Kauravas, they blew their conch shell to give pleasure to Duryodhana. And then on the side of Pandavas, because they knew Krishna is the Supreme Lord, we are supposed to serve him. So first Krishna blew his conch and he enters Bhagavad Gita as a humble chariot driver. That is the same way he enters in the Bhagavatam also. So Krishna, by his actions, he is consistently seeing that he likes devotees who are humble. And then after all the conches are blown, then Arjuna requests Krishna, oh Krishna, please bring my chariot in between the two armies. And then as the chariot is put in between the two armies, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapayam Yachyata Yavadetan Niriksheham Yodhu Kamanavasutan. I want to see who all have assembled. And when Krishna heard this instruction, he stationed the chariot in between the two armies. And he told Arjuna, just see who all have assembled. And Arjuna sees whole 5 generations of family members assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Grandfathers, fathers, brothers, sons, and grandsons. And he gets completely bewildered. He says, "Oh Arjuna, I cannot. Oh Krishna, I cannot fight." And he gives 5 reasons why he does not want to fight. He says, "I am feeling compassion for all these soldiers. Why should I kill them?" Then he says, "If I kill them, I'll become sinful because I'm killing all of them for my own personal desires." And then third, he says, "If I kill all of them, how I will enjoy? Because for enjoyment also you need somebody. You cannot enjoy alone." So then after saying all this, then he says, "Oh Krishna, if I kill all of them, the whole family tradition will be destroyed. And when the family tradition is destroyed, women will become unpolluted and unscrupulous children, unwanted progeny will be born. Sankaro narakaya eva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hi yesham nupta pindodaka kriyah." Who will offer Shraddha ceremony to all the Pitras, ancestors? The whole system will be destroyed. Then he fell silent. And Vistrijya Shasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. He gave up his bow and he was completely overwhelmed with lamentation. As Dhritarashtra is hearing from Sanjay all this, he becomes hopeful. Oh, it seems that Arjuna is not going to fight. And if Arjuna will not fight, then for sure Kauravas will win, because if Arjuna, and who is the main warrior, if he gives up the battle, then for sure my sons will win. So he becomes hopeful. But Sanjay, he describes that how Krishna will inspire Arjuna to fight. Then in the second chapter, we see, first of all, Arjuna surrenders. He gives few more doubts. He tells, "I am confused, O Krishna, I cannot fight." First, Krishna gives a pep talk. "Klaibyam masmagam partha, this does not befit you. You are a great warrior. If you are behaving like this, then it is not befitting you. It is an anarya. It will bring you infamy." So then Arjuna says, "But I cannot fight. I cannot kill my elderly members. Guruna hatva himahanubhava shreyo bhoktum bhikshamapi haloke." I cannot kill my superiors. Better to go to forest and live by begging. And then ultimately says, "Oh Krishna, I am confused. I am surrendering unto you. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prachami tvam dharma sammudh cheta yashreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam." Then Arjuna surrenders. As Arjuna surrenders, Krishna first of all chastises. That is the first duty of the spiritual master, to chastise the insincere and foolish disciple. Ashocyan anvashocastum. You are behaving as if you are learned, but you are lamenting for what is not supposed to be lamented. And then he starts dispelling one by one every argument of Arjuna. First of all, Krishna says, "You are talking about the compassion, but why are you showing compassion for the dead matter? Body is always dead, soul is always eternal." Krishna gives the knowledge of Atma Gyan, that is the Sankhya. And there he says, "Oh Arjuna, this body is temporary. And there was never a time when you did not exist, when these kings did not exist, and there will never be a time when these people will not exist. Natvevaham jatuna sam natvam neme janadhipaha." And then he says, there is a soul inside the body. Soul transfers from one body to the another body. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Just like the soul passes from in the same body from childhood to youth to old age, then after some time the soul leaves that body, goes to another body. So therefore Arjuna may say, "But I am attached to this body of Bhishma, this body of Drona." Krishna says, "You have to tolerate. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadah." Just tolerate the dualities of this world, O Arjuna. because they are temporary, and देहिनो मात्र स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदा agama apayino anitya. They come and they go, they are temporary. So therefore don't lament. Just like when somebody is wearing some shirt, and when the shirt becomes old, the person throws that garment and takes another garment. Similarly, the soul gives up the old body and takes a new body. So what is the problem? Why are you lamenting so much? So then Krishna gives various characteristics of the soul. What are the various characteristics? Soul cannot be burnt, soul cannot be dried, avyakta, achedya, adahya. So all these things he describes. Then after describing this, that soul is eternal, body is temporary, he says you are worrying about happiness. But if you win, you will enjoy this world. If you die, you'll go to heaven and you will enjoy. So why are you worrying? Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. If you, therefore, yuddhaya yujyasva, O Arjuna, just fight this battle. So therefore now Krishna is taking Arjuna from the, to a sakam karma level. You want happiness? Okay, you fight. By fighting, you will enjoy both ways. Arjuna said, if I'll fight, if I die, I will lose something. If I win, I'll lose something. Krishna saying, no, it is not. It is other way around. If you die, you will go to heaven and enjoy. And if you win, you will stay in this planet and enjoy. So therefore, better fight. But oh Arjuna, you are thinking about infamy, sin. But let me tell you, if you won't fight, then you will become sinful. You will become infamous. So therefore, he says, "Atha chettvamimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyati, tatah swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi." If you won't fight, if you don't do this dharma sangram, you will incur akirti and papa. You will incur infamy and you will incur sinful reaction. So therefore, better you fight. Now, after telling Krishna about this sakam karma level, then Krishna takes Arjuna to a level of nishkam karma yoga. There, Krishna recommends, you are fearful of sinful reaction. If you work for the higher absolute principles, then you will not be bound by the sinful reactions. Since 38th verse, he says, Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. You should give up all this thought process about sukha, dukkha, labha, alabha, labha, hani, victory, defeat. Just forget all these things. Work as a matter of duty. And if you work in this way, this is called buddhi yoga. And 39th verse, it says, buddhir yoge. This is buddhi yoga. Working with intelligence fixed on higher absolute principle. And then Krishna describes the glories of acting in buddhi yoga. He says, Arjuna, in this path, there is no loss. Even a small endeavor has a permanent result. Neha bhikramanasho asti. And then he says, oh Arjuna, to practice this buddhi yoga, you require one thing. You require determination. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Be determined. Be fixed. Be fixed on the goal. But there are two obstacles in this path of determination. What are these obstacles? Bhog and Aishwarya. Attachment to sense gratification and attachment to the opulences of this world. They are the obstacles on this path of buddhi yoga. So therefore, you act in this buddhi yoga, because if you act in this buddhi yoga, you will attain the highest destination. Padam gachanti anamayam. 51st verse, Krishna says, you will attain the highest destination. After hearing so much about buddhi yoga, and Krishna asks, please tell me about the characteristics of a person who is acting in buddhi yoga. And he calls that person to be sthita pragya. So then he says, please tell me about the general characteristics. Please tell me about the external symptoms. Please tell me how he controls his senses. Please tell me how he roams around in this world while controlling his senses. Krishna says, oh Arjuna, that person, he has given up all desires which comes from his mind. Manogatan, whatever desires they are born of mind, he gives up all those desires. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parth manogatan. And then he is satisfied with himself. He is unaffected by praise and criticism. Like a tortoise, he withdraws all its limb when faced with danger, because these senses, they are very, very strong and impetuous. They can take away the intelligence of a man of even a great discrimination. Therefore, control all the senses. Arjuna may think, but is there a way to control the senses? Krishna says, yes. Focus on absolute truth, that is me. That is 61st verse. First time Krishna introduces himself as the objective of meditation. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asit matparaha. And then he says, but if you don't regulate your senses, then you will be destroyed. And then he describes the process of fall down. Starts with contemplation in 2.62 and 63. If you keep on contemplating on sense objects, then you'll develop a attraction for them. And then slowly anger will arise. And then your intelligence will be builded. Your memory will be destroyed, and ultimately you will be lost. So therefore, O Arjuna, become like an ocean. Because in the ocean, rivers enter, but ocean never overflows. Similarly, the desires of sense gratification may enter in your mind, but make your heart deep like an ocean. Then you will not be troubled by the desire for sense gratification. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. And whoever is practicing this way, he will attain Brahman platform. Now, after this, Arjuna gets confused, because in the second chapter, in the 49th verse, Krishna spoke some word. He had told Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, please keep away this abominable work. Arjuna is thinking abominable work means fighting. And then again, Krishna has described about Buddhi Yoga. So he is not able to, understand whether he should fight or whether he should renounce. Therefore, he asked question about should he renounce or should he act? It's because he got confused. In 38th verse, Krishna told Arjuna, "O Arjuna, fight." 49th verse, Krishna told Arjuna, "Keep away this abominable work." Arjuna is thinking abominable work means fighting. So in 38th verse, Krishna says, Tato Yuddhaya, fight, O Arjuna. And 49th verse, Krishna is saying, don't fight. That is the conception of Arjuna. So therefore, he asks, please tell me which is better. What should I do? Don't tell me too many things. Should I work? Should I fight? Or should I renounce? Then Krishna explains that, action based on Nishkam Karma Yoga is better than premature renunciation. If somebody is working with a mood of detachment, then he will not be bound by the results of the action. Because anyways, inaction is unnatural. Nobody can stop working. Even to maintain the body, one has to work. Therefore, O Arjuna, don't become a pretender. Become an honest householder. And then Krishna says, but oh Arjuna, even if you think you are qualified for renunciation, still you have to work, you have to fight to set a right example. Because whatever great people do, common people follow. Even I am doing work. I don't have to do anything in this world. But still I am working because Utsideyu rime loka nakuryam karma chedaham sankarasya chakartasyam upahanyamimah praja. Oh Arjuna, if I won't work, people will follow me and this whole world will be put into ruins. So this is the answer for the fourth argument of Arjuna, where Arjuna had asked, there will be destruction of family tradition if I fight. Krishna is saying, if you won't fight, then the tradition will be destroyed. Then after this, Krishna says, O Arjun, in this path of Buddhi Yoga, there is an enemy which is called lust. Lust is the formidable enemy on the path of yoga. And therefore, Arjuna himself asks, why does a person engage in sinful acts even if he does not want to do so? He is forced to do those things as if he is pulled by that. Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha anichannapi varshneya balad iva niyojita. Just like by strength, by some force is pulled. Krishna says, O Arjuna, this is lust. Kama esha and krodha esha. Lust and anger. Lust, which is born of wrath. They are the formidable enemies for a person who is on the path of self-realization. And then he says, to fight these enemies, you should know where they are situated. And then he describes about three places where lust resides: Indriya, Mana, and Buddhi, senses, mind, and intelligence. So therefore, O Arjuna, if you work in this purified intelligence, taking shelter of the scriptures, following the words of God, then you will be liberated. You will not be bound by the sinful reactions. After describing this, in the fourth chapter, Krishna will represent this transcendental knowledge by which one can be protected from this bondage of lust. And then in the fourth chapter, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna teaches about this transcendental knowledge about himself. Because Arjuna asked a question, Are, you and me are of same age, but you are telling that you told this knowledge to some god. How is this possible? Krishna says, yes, because both you and me have taken many births. You don't remember anything. I remember everything because I am the supreme controller. Ajopisan abhyatma bhutanam ishwaropisan bhutanam ishwara. I am the controller of every living entity. So therefore, I don't forget. When Krishna explains the reason for his descent, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirabhavati bharata abhyutthanam tadatmanam shajamyaham. O Arjuna, I appear in this world to establish the principles of religion, to annihilate the miscreants, and to reciprocate with the devotees. Therefore, whoever knows this knowledge about my birth and the activities, he gets liberated from this bondage of material world. Because I reciprocate accordingly. If somebody comes to me in a mood of devotion, I reciprocate accordingly. Ye yathamam prapadyante. Then Krishna talks about creation. He says, Oh Arjuna, I am the Supreme Lord. I have created everything. These four varnas, Chaturvarnyam, they are Maya Srishtam. They are created by me based on guna and karma. And Arjuna may say, you are doing so much. You are not bound by the actions. Krishna says, no, all this work cannot bind me. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriya. Because I am not in need of any results of my action. I am just doing it to set right standards. And many people in the past have followed this knowledge. They have become liberated. You are not the only first person I am giving this knowledge. Therefore, you should know how not to be bound by the effects of karma. Know what is karma. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanah, akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Know what is karma, know what is akarma, and know what is vikarma, because the intricacies of action are very difficult to understand. And then he says, O Arjuna, the person who is attached to the results of this work, he thinks he is the doer. Prakrite kriyamānāni gunai karmāni sarvashah ahankara vimūಢātma karta aham. He thinks I am the doer. Krishna explains about three types of doer. Material nature is the doer. Living entity is the doer and Lord is also a doer. Then Krishna is telling to Arjuna, oh Arjun, you know, there are so many types of sacrifices by which one can perform his actions. These sacrifices, they take one closer to transcendental knowledge, you know. And how to acquire this knowledge? By surrendering to the spiritual master. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. And then Krishna describes the glories of this transcendental knowledge. Oh Arjuna, this knowledge can burn all sinful reactions. Just like the fire burns firewood to ashes, this knowledge burns all sinful reactions. Yathaidhamsi samidhognir bhasmasat kurute Arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. So therefore be faithful to this process, because faithful people, they develop knowledge. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Those who are not faithful, those who are doubtful, those who don't have agya, or those who are ignorant, those who are faithless, and those who are doubtful souls, they get destroyed. So therefore, O Arjuna, we should be faithful. And then, in this chapter, Krishna spoke 2-3 verses which confuses Arjuna again. In 4.39, Krishna had used the word Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tat paraha samyatendriyaha jnanam labdhva param shanti. So he says, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, if you work, if you have this faith, then you will develop peace. So Arjuna is having this understanding. Peace means no fight. And then in 41st verse, again Krishna is telling Arjuna, Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Jnana Sanchinna Sanchayam. He says those people who work, they are not bound by the results. So then again Krishna gets confused. Then 42nd verse, again Krishna is saying, therefore, O Arjuna, Tasmat Ajnana Sambhutam Ritstam Jnana Sinatmanaha Chitvainam Samshayam Yogam Atishta Uttishta Bharata. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, oh Arjuna, therefore take up to this karma yoga and fight. Again Arjuna gets confused. What is happening? On one side you are telling me to renounce, other side you are telling me to act. What is this happening here? So therefore the 5th chapter again begins with the same inquiry. So please tell me which is better. Krishna says both go to the same destination, but karma yoga is better, because it is easy. Whatever result is obtained by karma yoga, same result is obtained by sannyas also. But karma yoga is easy, and therefore be detached from the results of the action, just like the lotus leaf. Lotus leaf is not touched by the water. So similarly, don't be attached to the material things of this world. Then Krishna says, oh Arjun, if you want to work in this consciousness of Nishkam Karma Yoga, engage your 4 faculties in serving me. What are the 4 faculties? Tad buddhaya tad atmanaha tannishtha tat parayanaha. Engage your intelligence, mind, faith, and your ultimate goal. Make me your ultimate goal. Put shelter, faith in me. Fix your mind in me. Fix your intelligence in me. In this way, you become a true sannyasi, and a true sannyasi is free from all the bondage. He attains liberation. Therefore, in the 5th chapter end, Krishna describes 2 ways to get liberated. In 27th and 28th verses, Krishna talks about liberation by the process of Ashtanga Yoga. And in 29th verse, Krishna describes liberation by the process of Bhakti Yoga. So the 27th and 28th verses, they are described in 6th chapter, and 29th verse is described in 6 chapters. So then that is the link between the 5th and the 6th chapter. So now Krishna starts the description of Dhyana Yoga. So in this Dhyana Yoga, chapter, Krishna has described about two stages: the beginning stage and the advanced stage. Beginning stage is called Yoga Ruruksha. Advanced stage is called Yoga Rudha. Krishna says in this Ashtanga Yoga process, mind control is very, very important, because controlled mind is the best friend, uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. So therefore, whatever limbs of Ashtanga Yoga Krishna describes in the 6th chapter, they are equally applicable in all the yoga paths, including Bhakti Yoga. So therefore, then Krishna starts the various processes of Bhakti Ashtanga Yoga. How the person has to sit, go in a secluded place, leave family life, practice celibacy, focus on the middle of the eyebrows or tip of the nose, and do pranayam, yam, niyam, pranayam, pratyahar, asan, dhyan, dharana, samadhi. All these things he has to do. And in this way, he has to control his mind. After hearing so many of these things, Arjuna says, mere se nahi hoga. I cannot practice all this, whatever you are saying, because mind is so very difficult to control. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balvadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. I can control mind, I can control wind, but I cannot control my mind. Krishna says, yes, Arjuna, whatever you are saying is true, but you can control the mind by practice and detachment from sense gratification. So therefore, after describing this, Arjuna says, okay, what if a yogi cannot complete his process? What is his destination? Krishna says, in this path, there is no loss. If somebody practices for some time and falls down, he takes birth in the family of a rich, wealthy person. He takes birth in the family of a Brahmana, and he continues this process. If somebody practices for a long time and leaves, then he takes birth in the family of devotees. So therefore, there is no loss, O Arjuna, in this path. And then he says, yogi is the best. Of all the yogis, of the karma yogi, jnana yogi, ashtanga yogi, bhakti yogi is the best. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matah. Then after describing this, that the bhakti is the highest, chapter 7, Krishna describes how bhakti is the highest. Then we enter the bhakti yoga section. So in the 7th chapter, now Krishna describes about his own glory of devotional service. How devotional service is so glorious. He describes, O Arjuna, you have to hear. Maya sakta manah partha, become absorbed in me and hear about whatever knowledge I am giving you. Because hearing is the primary aspect of devotional service. Then Krishna reveals about his energies. He describes about his all pervasiveness. He says, "O Arjuna, I will describe you about Gyan and Vigyan. I'll give you theoretical knowledge also, and I'll give you realized knowledge also." And then Krishna describes, whatever you see in this world, O Arjuna, it is coming from me. I am the source of all the material things. Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi. Everything is coming from me. These are my energies. Apart from this material energy, there is some superior spiritual energy which is comprising of the living entities. They are also coming from me. But the problem is, O Arjuna, the living entities, they are prone to become conditioned by the 3 material modes. And these modes, they are created by me. And based on the modes, people get bewildered. Mohitam na bhijanati loko mam ajam avyam. There are some people who are bewildered because of the modes of material nature, because it is the nature of the jiva to get bewildered. But O Arjuna, one can transcend these modes by surrendering unto me. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. After describing this, Krishna describes, there are four types of people who surrender to me. There are four types of people who don't surrender to me. Arto, Artarti, Jigyasu, and Jnani. Out of these, Jnani is the best. He is very, very dear to me. And then he describes the rarity of a devotee. He says, after many, many lifetimes, a Jnani can become a devotee. But he says, oh Arjuna, there are some people, even after knowing my glory, they don't surrender to me. They surrender to devatas. So Krishna describes about demigod worship then. He says, these people, because they want quick results, therefore they go to these devatas. Kama istaiste rita jnana prapadyante anya devata. Anya devata, they are overwhelmed by material desires, therefore they take shelter of the devatas. But these are less intelligent people, because the results which they get from the demigod worship is temporary. On the other hand, there are some people who worship impersonal Brahman. They are worse. They are foolish. They are unintelligent. Demigod worshippers are less intelligent, but impersonalists, they are unintelligent, because they can never attain a good destination. Therefore, I do not reveal myself to them. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. I cover their intelligence. I cover myself by my internal potency. Therefore, they cannot know me. I can be known only by devotion. I know everything, O Arjuna. I know past, present, and future. Therefore, people not knowing this knowledge, because they are under the control of ichha and dvesha. People are overwhelmed by desires and envy. Therefore, they don't know me. And to know me, to practice bhakti in a determined way, you have to be sinless. Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam nidavratah. These people, they worship me with determination. And then at the end, Krishna speaks few words: Adhibhuta, Adhideva, Adhiyagya, Adiksh, and all these things. And then in the 8th chapter, Krishna asks, because Krishna spoke few words, so Arjuna asked, please explain me about these words. Krishna, in response to this, explains about all these other words. What is Adhibhuta? What is Adhiyagya, Adhidaiva? He describes all this in 2-3 verses. And then, one last verse Arjuna had asked. Last thing which Arjuna had asked was, how one can remember you at the time of death. Prayan kale cha katham gyeyo si niyat atmabhihi. From 8.5 onwards, the whole chapter is dedicated to this answer of this one question of Arjuna. So therefore, this chapter is entitled Attaining the Supreme. How one can attain the Supreme at the end of the life. And the famous verse comes there, where Krishna is saying, if you remember me at the time of death, you'll come to me. Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. But then Krishna makes a general principle. Whatever form one remembers at the time of death, he attains that form for sure, O Arjuna. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tyajyatyante kalevaram. So therefore, after describing this, he says, O Krishna, therefore fight. Fight, always think of me and fight. In 3rd chapter, Krishna had told, you work and then you offer your results to me. You think about me. Here Krishna is saying, you first think about me and then you fight. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha. So think, remember me and fight. So then after describing this, Krishna describes the process, how a Ashtanga yogi with mixed devotion, he practices that process of yoga mishra bhakti and how he attains liberation. He describes various qualities of the super soul which this yogi meditates on, and then he after describing so many things from 10 to 13th verses, he talks about bhakti in the 14th verse. There Krishna says, O Arjuna, process of bhakti is very very easy. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarti nityashah tasya aham sulabha partha. It is very easy. This is the only time in whole Bhagavad Gita Krishna is telling that bhakti yoga is easy, because my devotees, they don't come back in this material world. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti. They don't come back in this world, because this world is a place of misery. This is temporary world. So, and this is a place of misery. Therefore, please practice bhakti. Then he describes about a difference between the material world and the spiritual world. Then after describing the material and the spiritual worlds, he describes there are two ways in which this yogi, who is yoga mishra bhakta, he gets liberated. He describes the path of light and the path of darkness. And then he says, those devotees, those yogis who are following the path of light, they attain Brahman. Those yogis who are following the path of darkness, they still have material desires. They come back in this material earthly planet again after enjoying in the heavenly pleasures. Then he says, oh Krishna, oh Arjuna, don't be bewildered by all this. Devotees, they don't have to think all this. For a devotee, they should only be concerned about practicing my bhakti, because bhakti yogi is the supreme. Vedeshu yagyeshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. So in the last verse of this 8th chapter, Krishna establishes the supremacy of bhakti yogi. And then after establishing the supremacy of bhakti yogi, Krishna describes the glory of this bhakti yogi. Who is that Ananya Bhakta who practices bhakti? So then in the 9th chapter, Krishna describes in detail about this glory of this bhakti yogi, and he describes how he takes care of his devotees in a very, very sweet way. So in this 9th chapter, which is entitled Most Confidential Knowledge, this is the essence of whole Bhagavad Gita. Because in this chapter, Krishna has described about his greatness in the beginning of this chapter. Then he is described about his sweetness in the later part of this chapter. So there Krishna says, this knowledge which I am giving you, this is the king of knowledge. This is the secret of all the secrets. It is purest. It is transcendental. It can be realized by direct perception. Therefore, O Arjuna, please practice devotional service. But problem is, faithless people, they cannot attain me. Ashraddadana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. They come back in this material world again. Then after describing this, Krishna describes its greatness, how great he is, how Krishna pervades this entire material creation. So there he says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina. In my unmanifested form, I am pervading in this entire universe. Just as wind is pervading in the entire sky, I am pervading in this entire universe. Then Krishna describes, I am the source of creation, destruction, and maintenance of this entire material creation. Then Krishna says, but O Arjuna, don't think I am bound by all this work. All this work cannot bind me, because I am the controller of material energy. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate. So because this is under my control, this nature is working under me. Therefore, I am not bound by this work. Then Krishna says, although this process is so very great, but there are some people who are foolish, who don't take to me my devotional service. They are impersonalists and they are demigod worshippers. So there he says, avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Those who are impersonalists, in 9.11 he says, they do not know my eternal real nature. They think that supreme truth is impersonal, and when I come as a form, that is the false form. Original form is impersonal form. Lord does not have a form. What is the fate of all these fools? They never reach their desired goal. So, and then after describing other extreme, one extreme, impersonalists, then he takes Arjuna to other extreme of pure devotees. He says, oh Arjuna, there are some pure devotees who are always thinking of me. They are always chanting my names. They are called Mahatma. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyam. Arjuna, these Mahatmas, they are under my divine protection. They are always chanting my names, always practicing my bhakti. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavratah. They are very strongly determined to practice this path of devotional service. And then he says, there are some people in between also. One end is impersonalists, other end is pure devotees. There are some people who are in between. Who are the in between people? There are three categories of people who are in between. One category is the worshippers of the impersonal form, but they don't neglect the personal form. They are Brahmavadis. There are some people who are worshippers of the Devatas. They are called Pratik Upasakas. The Brahmavadis, they are called Ahangropasakas. And there are some people who worship Virata Rupa. They are called Virat Rupa Upasakas or Vishwa Rupa Upasakas. So then after describing this, Krishna describes about Vishwarupa worshippers, and then he describes about demigod worshippers. He says that these demigod worshippers, they do lots of tapasya, so many yagyas, they go to heaven, but they again come back in this material world. Shine punya martya lokam vishanti. So this is all temporary path. In contrast to this, process of bhakti is very, very easy, because I personally take care of my devotees. I provide them what they lack. I protect them what they have. Ananya shintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. And then he says, there are some people who worship devatas. They worship me in a wrong way, because they don't accept me to be the Lord of all sacrifices. And then he says, these people, they are worshipping different devatas. They will go to their abode. Yanti deva vrata devan. And in this 25th verse, he very clearly establishes all paths lead to different goals. There are different paths which are leading to different goals. Those who are worshippers of devatas, they go to devatas. Those who are worshippers of pitris, they go to pitris, pitriloka. Those who worship me, they come to me. So therefore Krishna clearly says that there are different goals for different paths. And then he says, oh Arjuna, bhakti is very, very simple. What you have to do? Just offer little water, one fruit, one leaf, one flower. I'll be pleased by that. Just be having some devotional element in that. Bhaktya tadaham bhakti uparitam. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. I accept the bhakti element in that. So therefore, if somebody may say, but I don't have bhakti, what to do now? Krishna says, don't worry, whatever you have, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give charity, do it as an offering to me. because I take care of everyone, but I am specially inclined to my devotees. So please take advantage of becoming my devotee. Even if you fall down in this path of devotional service, don't worry. Very soon you will be back to the original standards of devotional service. Apichet suduracharo bhajate maam ananya bhak sadhurev samantavya samyak vyavasito hi sah. Therefore, Krishna says, O Arjuna, I take care of my devotees, their conditional faults, yeah, because of their conditionings they may fall down, but I take care of devotees inherent faults also. Somebody may be by birth born in a low class family, still they can come to the right standard of devotion. Just remember me, worship me, offer obeisances unto me, your life will become perfect. Manmanabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru मामे वैश्यति सत्यम ते प्रतिजानी युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः. After describing this, Krishna has described about most confidential knowledge, and Krishna told Arjuna, fix your mind on me. Arjuna wants to know more how to fix my mind on Krishna, on you, but he does not ask anything. Krishna on his own goes into the ecstatic details of how one can fix his mind on him. And there Krishna describes the opulences, his own opulences, by which one can fix the mind on him. So there Krishna says, O Arjuna, again I am describing you the supreme knowledge. Shrunu me paramam vachaha. These are my supreme statements, because nobody can know me, O Arjuna. Name vidu surdana prabhavam na maharshayah ahamadirhi devana manushyanam cha sarvashah. So nobody, not even great devatas, great rishis, nobody knows me. But one who knows me, he becomes free from all the sinful reactions. Sarva papaih pramuchyate. So therefore worship me, because I am the origin of all the good qualities. All the good qualities, they are coming from me. I am the source of all the personalities in this world. Maharshaya Sapt Purve Chatvaro Manavastatha. Everybody is coming from me. And then Krishna explains the most confidential knowledge of Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. There Krishna describes how he is the source of everything, and people who know Krishna in this way, they perform devotional service unto him. What do they do? Machitta madgata prana bodhayantaha parasparam. They always talk about me. They converse about my pastimes. And therefore, whoever is working in this way, what do, Arjuna? I give them the intelligence. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. And because I, with the lamp of knowledge, I destroy all their ignorance. Teshamevanukampartham aham agyan jam tamaha nashayami. I destroy the knowledge, I destroy the ignorance which is there in the heart of my devotee. With this, the Bhagavad Gita ends. Arjuna gives his opinion. He says, O Krishna, I accept you to be the supreme. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are Param Brahma. You are the supreme destination. You are purest. You are the source of everything. Not only me. There are various sages. Asita, Devala, Vyasa, Narada. And now you are telling yourself that you are the Supreme Lord. Oh Krishna, nobody knows you. Only you know yourself. Please tell me more about your opulences. I want to hear about your opulences. How I can see you in this world. In response to this, Krishna, he describes his glories, and he describes so many of the qualities from 21st verse onwards, from 20 verse onwards till 39 verses. how we can see Krishna in this material world. After describing all this, Krishna says, oh Arjuna, all this is just spark of my splendor, because my opulences are unlimited. Na anto asti. There is no end to my opulences. This is just the spark of my splendor. After hearing 10th chapter, you know, Krishna, Arjuna, he has heard about it, that how Krishna pervades this entire creation. Athava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna Vishtabhyahamidam kritsnam ekam shena sthito jagat. Last verse of 10th chapter, Krishna told Arjuna, with a single fragment of mine, I pervade this entire creation. Arjuna says, I want to see that form. Please show me that form. If you think I am qualified, please show me that form in which you pervade this entire universe. So hearing this request, now Krishna, first of all, he gives a orientation course to Arjuna, what he will see in this Virat Rupa. So then after that he shows this Virat Rupa. In that form, Arjuna sees so many of the brilliant suns. It is like huge effulgence which is coming. He sees thousands of hands, thousands of eyes, thousands of mouths. There is no origin, no middle, no end. So he offers his respects, offers obeisances, and then he asks for apologies. Oh Krishna, I offended you. I spoke with you in such a intimate way. Please forgive me. I did not know your glories. Please be merciful to me. Because Krishna, he showed Virata Rupa, and he showed to Arjuna Kala Rupa also. In that Kala Rupa, Arjuna saw all the warriors coming in the mouth of this Virata Rupa. Just like rivers, they are entering the ocean. Yatha nadinam bahavambu vega samudrameva bhimukha dravanti tatha tavami naraloka veera. He says, just like rivers are entering into the ocean, I see soldiers are entering into your mouth. Just like uh, firefly moths, they enter fire, I see warriors like Duryodhana and all the Kauravas voluntarily they are entering this fire, this mouth of yours. I see this heads of these soldiers, they are being crushed and by the teeth, and the blood is coming out, and I can see the tongue of this Virata Rupa is coming out and licking the blood. Leli hayase grasamana samantal. Arjuna says, bas ho gaya. I cannot handle all this. Please remove this form of yours, O Krishna. First, and actually before that, he asks, who are you? I don't know. Who are you? What is your mission? Akhyahi meko bhavan ugra rupo. Please tell me, who are you? What is your mission? Then Supreme Lord in this form of Virat Rupa, he says, Kalosmi, time I am. I have come to kill everyone. Apart from you or Pandavas, Ritepi Twamna Bhavishyanti Sarve. Everybody will be killed apart from you, O Pandavas. Just become the instrument in my hands. Nimitta Matram Bhava Savya Sachin. Just take the glory. Tasmat Tamuttishta Yashola Bhaswa. Just win this glory, O Arjuna. Become the instrument of in the hands of me. I have already killed all of them. You just take the credit. That is how Lord is so very merciful. He is very, very eager to give credit to his devotees. Arjuna offers his prayers. Then he says, oh my Lord, I offer my obeisances from front, from back, from all sides. Please forgive me for my offenses. Please show me that your, Saumya Vapu again. I am completely disturbed seeing this form. Krishna says, why? But this form is very rare. Nobody has seen this form. Nobody can see this form by performance of yajna, tapa, sacrifice. It is very, very rare. And you are telling me to, remove this form? Arjuna says, yes, oh my Lord, please, I cannot handle it. Then Krishna removes this form. manifests four-handed form, again comes back to his two-handed form. And then Krishna says, this form which you are seeing now, O Arjuna, this is most rare. Na ham veda na tapasa na dane na cha ijjaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drishtavan asimam yatha. Not by the practice of the study of the Vedas, austerities, I can be seen in this two-handed form only by devotion. Bhaktya tunannaya shakya ahamevam vidhorjuna Gyatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Therefore, do all your activities for me. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that this last verse of the 11th chapter, this is the essence of whole Bhagavad Gita. And in this last chapter, Krishna described the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga, which he elaborated in the 12th chapter. In the 12th chapter, Arjuna asked about personalists and impersonalists. In response to this, Krishna says, "O Arjuna, this Bhakti Yoga is the highest. This impersonal path, it is very, very troublesome. Dukkham aptum, the path is miserable and the end is also miserable. Therefore, O Arjuna, you should not think of practicing this path. Klesho adhikatarastesham. One experiences too much of difficulty and distress in this path. On the contrary, the path of bhakti is very easy because I personally take care of my devotees. Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavanmi nachirat partha maya aveshit chetasam. I personally take my devotee out of this ocean of material existence very soon. Just have faith. Just be conscious of me. And then Krishna says, "Oh Arjuna, you can practice this devotional service at any level. If you are a pure devotee, always think about me. Always use your intelligence to worship me. If you cannot do that, practice sadhana bhakti. If you cannot do that also, at least work and offer your results to me." Krishna says, if you cannot do that also, at least do some charity, do some public welfare work. And in this way, at last you will come to me, don't worry. Then after that, Krishna says, "Oh Arjun, the devotees, they are very, very dear to me because they have so many of the good qualities." And from 12.13 to 20, Krishna describes the good qualities of his devotees. So then this is the Bhakti Yoga section. So after describing this Bhakti Yoga section, Krishna, he describes about this Jnana Yoga. So this Jnana Yoga comprises of chapters 13 to 18, in which Krishna will describe how one should develop this philosophical understanding, because by this philosophical understanding, one will be fixed in the process of devotional service. In the beginning of this 13th chapter, Arjuna asks few questions. He asks about 6 things. He says, what is Prakriti? What is Purusha? Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnanam and Geyam. In response to that, Krishna says, this material nature which you see, this is the Prakriti. There are 2 types of Purusha, soul and the super soul. Then you are asking about Jnana. What is knowledge? Krishna explains that knowledge in 13.8 to 12 verses. These are the 20 points of knowledge, and the main of these 20 points is Maichananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabicharini. Avyabhichari Bhakti, unalloyed devotion, is the main element of knowledge. And who is to be known? Who is Geya? Krishna says, there are 2 types of Geya, soul and super soul. And then Krishna describes very important thing. He says, this soul, the soul is bound to be conditioned because of the enjoyment mentality. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni janmasu. Because of the desire, because of the enjoying mentality, Sometimes living entities go to the higher planetary systems, sometimes to the lower planetary systems. In this way, they keep on suffering. But the super soul is not bound. He is Upadrashta, he is Anumanta, he is the overseer, he is the sanctioner, he is the maintainer, he is the super soul, he is the Maheshwara, he is the controller of everyone. So therefore, after describing all this, Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, then he describes, the vision of knowledge. What is the vision of knowledge? He sees this type of person. He sees Atma in everyone. He sees Paramatma everywhere. And then he describes, what are the qualities of this Atma? Atma stays in the body at one place, but pervades its consciousness throughout the body, just like sun is at one place, but the sun rays are spread everywhere. And then after this, he describes the falashruti of this, all this knowledge. He says, whoever knows this knowledge of jnana, gyeya, kshetragya, prakriti, and purusha, he becomes liberated and he attains my abode. After describing this, Krishna explains how the modes bind the living entity, because Krishna had described in the 13th chapter 13.21 that living entity is bound. In 13.22 he said he is bound by the modes. So naturally question is, what are these modes? So then he describes the modes in the 14th chapter. So there, 14th chapter again, Krishna says, oh Arjuna, I will describe you this supreme knowledge again, because this knowledge, if somebody has, he gets liberated, he attains my nature. That is the glory of this knowledge. And then Krishna says, oh Arjun, I pervade, I impregnate this entire material creation with the living entities. He says, Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhamyaham. In this garbha of Prakriti, I impregnate the living entities, because I am the father, seed giving father of each and every living entity in this world. There he says that living entities, I am the father. Aham bija pradah pita. But then, O Arjuna, in this world, living entities, they are bound by the different various modes. And then he explains bondage in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance. Bondage in the mode of goodness is by happiness, because the person does not do any sinful activity, he is happy. In the mode of passion, one has so many desires. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sang. So many desires, they come in the mode of passion. But in the mode of ignorance, only sleep, indolence, madness. So therefore, he says, person in the mode of goodness, he goes to the higher planetary systems. Person in the mode of passion, he remains in the middle planetary systems. And person in the mode of ignorance, he glides down to the lower planetary systems. After hearing all this, Arjuna says, oh Krishna, please tell me the quality of that person, who has transcended these modes, and how to come out of these modes. So in response to this question, Krishna explains the qualities of a Gunatit person. He explains the external behavior and he explains the internal behavior of Gunatit person. And then he says, the process to come out of these modes, that is the devotional service. Mam chaya avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Then after describing this modes of nature which water that seed, the seed becomes into a tree, grows into a tree. So then Krishna in the 15th chapter, which is called Purushottama Yoga, he describes the tree of material existence with roots up and the branches down. Urdhvamulamadash ashwatham prahuravyam. The Vedic hymns, they are the leaves, and then the sense objects, they are like the twigs. which make this tree attractive. Oh Arjuna, if you want to come out of this tree of material existence, don't try to figure out, just get out. Because nobody can find out the beginning and the end and the foundation and the middle of this tree. Just get out. How to get out? By surrendering. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sangair gacchantya muda padam avyayam tat. So the surrendering process is the way by which we can cut off this tree of material existence and attain the highest destination. Then Krishna describes the qualities of the supreme spiritual abode which a person will attain by this surrendering process. He says, that abode of mine, he says, that is my abode. That abode of mine is not lit by sun or moon or electricity. Whoever goes to that abode, he does not return back. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. And then he says, living entities in this world, they are continuously suffering, because of so many desires. But I maintain the living entities at every level, at a cosmological level, terrestrial level, physical level, and even at the spiritual level, I help them. At the cosmological level, Krishna says, I maintain all these planets. I enter the planets, I maintain them. That is terrestrial level. And cosmological level, Krishna says, I am the moon, I am the sun, and I provide everything which is required to sustain the life in this universe. Then I enter every planet and I maintain them by the gravity. Then he says, even in the physical bodies, I am the fire. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah. And then he says, Arjun, I take care of the living entities even at the spiritual level, because I am situated in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham ridisannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedant kritveda videva chaham. So Krishna says, I give knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. I am to be known by study of all the Vedas. Then he describes again 3 shloki Bhagavad Gita, where he tells about living entities of this world. He tells about Paramatma, he tells about Bhagavan, and then he tells about the process to serve that Lord. He says in the 16th verse, there are 2 types of living entities, Shara and Akshara. Apart from that, in 17th verse, he says, there is one person who is beyond this Shara and Akshara. Yasmat Sharam Atitoham Aksharad Apicha Uttamaha Atosmi Loke Vedecha Prathitaha Purushottama. And then he says, there is some other personality which is called Bhagavan. So that is called Purushottama. And then he says, whoever knows this without a doubt, Sa Sarva Vid Bhajati Mam, he starts rendering devotional service. And then he describes the summary and falashruti of this whole chapter in this last verse. He says, O Arjuna, whoever knows this, etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata, all his endeavors reach perfection. After describing the tree of material existence, now Krishna describes the fruits of this tree, the divine and the demoniac, good fruits and the bad fruits. So Krishna describes so many of the good qualities in the 16th chapter, that is called Daivi Sampad, 1 to 3. Then he describes about demoniac qualities in the 4th verse. After hearing this, Arjuna starts thinking, am I divine or demoniac? I am fighting, I am killing people. Am I divine or demoniac? Krishna says, don't worry. You are born of divine qualities. Daivi Sampada Vimokshaya Vibandhaya Nibandhaya Surimata Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava. Then he goes on to description of divine, all these demoniac qualities in great detail. And then he says, these demoniac people, they do not know what is to be done, what is not to be done. They think this world is without any foundation. only purpose of this world is to enjoy lust. And they say uh, asatyam apratishtamte jagadahur anishwaram. This world is false without any foundation. It is anishwaram. There is nobody controlling this. Then what is the purpose? Kimanyat kama hetukam. Only purpose of this world is to enjoy lust, and their only focus is to enjoy. Kam upbhog parma, that is their supreme goal, to enjoy life in this world, enjoy sense gratification. And because of those sense gratification desires, they are bound. Asha pashishatair baddha kama krodha parayana. They are surrendered to kam and krodha. These people, they think, I am the controller, I am enjoyer, I have so much wealth, I will gain more. I had that enemy, I had killed him, then I will kill others also. I will do some charity also to increase my name, fame. So in this way, I will enjoy. So these are the qualities of demoniac people. Krishna says, you know what? Oh Arjuna, these people, they go to hell because there are three gates to hell: Kama, Krodha, and Lobha. Lust, anger, and greed, these are the three gates to hell. And I personally cast them into hellish destinations, and life after life, they go on suffering in this way. Sorry, I forgot to change the slides. Okay. So then after this, Krishna says, "O Arjun, those who disregard the scriptures, they do not attain the highest destination, but those who practice scriptural rules and regulations, they attain the desired destination." So after describing the two ends, divine and demoniac, now Krishna describes there are some people in between who follow scripture, who follow some faith which is not based on scriptures. And what is that? There are some people who worship, who have some faith. Their faith is in the mode of goodness or passion and ignorance, but not based on scriptures. Please tell me about these faiths, these people. So in response to this, Krishna explains that these types of people, there are some people, their faith is either in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. This faith comes from the nature which they have acquired from their last lives. And then Krishna says, some people, they do worship devatas, or they worship rakshasas, or they worship bhuta and pishachas. They worship these three types of people according to the scriptures. But there are some people who do not follow the scriptures, and they do tapasya, and they trouble themselves, and they trouble me also. And then Krishna says, in this world, whatever a person eats, whatever austerity he performs, whatever charity he gives, they are in three modes. So then Krishna explains about food in the three modes. He describes sacrifices in the three modes, and then he describes about austerity in the three modes. And then he describes about charity also. And then he says, all this non-scriptural faith can become scriptural and transcendental by the chanting of Om Tat Sat. After describing this, now Krishna has completed Bhagavad Gita. He summarizes the whole Bhagavad Gita again in the 18th chapter. So there again Krishna explains about renunciation and tyag, sannyas and tyag, because Arjuna asked, what is the difference between sannyas and tyag? Krishna says sannyas means giving up all the kamya karma and continuing the practice of nitya karma. Tyag means giving up, practicing both kamya and nitya karma, but giving up the results of all the activities. Then after describing this, Krishna says in any work, in any action, there are five constituents. And what are these five constituents? Sthanam tatha karta karanam cha prathakvidam vividha cha prathak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So he says there are five factors in any action. And then after describing them, he describes about six more things. Jnanam karma cha karta cha. He describes about jnana, karma and karta. And then he describes how jnana, knowledge, is in three modes, action is in three modes, and the worker is also in three modes. So after one gets knowledge about some work, he wants to do that work. So then he understands, okay, the work is also in three modes. After understanding, the person is also in different modes. So after describing jnana, karma and karta, Krishna describes two more things about buddhi and dhriti, about the intelligence and determination, because these two things also help in the action. And after describing this, Krishna says, by any action one experiences happiness. Happiness is also in three modes. Happiness in the mode of goodness is very poison like in the beginning, but nectar in the end. Happiness in the mode of passion is pleasure in the beginning, but poison in the end. Happiness in the mode of ignorance is poison both in the beginning and the end. Then after describing this, Arjuna says, is there a way to, come out of all these things? He says, yes, there is a process called varnashram. If somebody is practicing this varnashram system, then he can rise from this sakam karma platform to the nishkam karma platform. And from there, he can actually come to the bhakti yoga platform. Swe swe karmanya bhirataha samsiddhim labhate naraha. So whatever action one is performing, one can advance in the process of this spiritual life, because in this varnashram system, what he has to do, swakarmana tamabhyarcha, by your action perform bhakti. After describing this from 56th verse onwards, Krishna describes knowledge of Brahman platform, and he says, O Arjuna, the person who is on the Brahman platform, from 54th verse onwards, he says, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. The person who is on the Brahman platform, he does not lament, he does not hanker, because samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. He sees everybody with equal vision and he attains my bhakti in the end. And then he says, O Arjuna, only a devotee can know me. And after describing that only devotee can know me, bhaktya mam abhijanati, then Krishna says, work in this Krishna consciousness. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. Then after describing this, Krishna says, what is the result of working in Krishna consciousness? You will be free from all the sinful reactions. But if you don't work in this consciousness, then you will be destroyed. Na shrosyasi vinangshyasi. And then he says, I have given you confidential knowledge. Higher than that is a knowledge about Paramatma. By practice of this jnana, you will reach Brahman. And then after you reach Brahman, you have to worship that form who is there in the heart of everyone. That is called Paramatma. And he is residing in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridadeshe arjuna tishtati. He is residing in everyone's heart. Therefore, and what is he doing? Brahmayan sarva bhutani. He is controlling the wanderings of the living entity. So therefore, O Arjuna, take shelter of that Paramatma who is there in the heart. Then after that he says, Oh Arjuna, okay, I have told you everything. Just think about it, contemplate and do whatever you want. Arjuna goes into thinking process. इतना सब सुनाया है, इसमें से क्या करना है? Seeing Arjuna getting confused and bewildered, Krishna becomes merciful. He says, okay, don't worry. I'll tell you what to do. He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. And actually before that, he says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Same verse which he has said in the 9.34. He says, surrender, think of me, worship me, offer obeisance unto me. And then he says, "O Arjuna, don't worry about all the other religions, all the other type of processes. Just surrender to me. I will protect you from all the sinful reactions. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha." And then Krishna says, "Oh Arjun, this knowledge, whoever teaches this knowledge," now Krishna is giving the Falashruti. Whoever teaches this knowledge to others, he is very, very dear to me. Preacher of Krishna consciousness is very, very dear to Krishna. And therefore Krishna says, become a preacher. If you cannot preach, if somebody says, no, but I cannot preach. Okay, Krishna says, at least study Bhagavad Gita. Adhyeshyate chaya imam. Whoever studies this Bhagavad Gita, he worships me with his intelligence. Somebody says, I cannot study also. Krishna says, okay, at least hear with faith. And then, Krishna says, have you understood everything? Chakravarti's path says that, Krishna is thinking, if you have not understood, I'll explain whole Bhagavad Gita again. I am ready. Arjuna says, no, I understood everything, oh Krishna. All my doubts are vanquished. Nashtamoho smritir labdva tvat prasadan mayachyuta. By your mercy, all my illusion is dispelled. My intelligence is reestablished. I will do whatever you say. Karishye vachanam tava. This should be the conclusion of hearing Bhagavad Gita. Assimilation and application should lead to transformation. Just continue, start practice of bhakti. Reading whole Bhagavad Gita should not just be for a feel good experience. Pura Bhagavad Gita ho gaya. Start practice of bhakti. That's what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. And that's what Arjuna is telling, that I'm ready to do whatever you say. Then after this, Arjuna gives his realizations. He says, I am really excited, exhilarated, ecstatic hearing the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. As I remember, I heard all this by mercy of Vyasadev. As I remember this conversation, I go into ecstasy. As I remember the form which Krishna showed to Arjuna, my hairs stand on end. And then Sanjay gives his final realization. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurtaraha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvani Tirmatir Mama. Wherever there is the supreme master of all mystics, Krishna, wherever there is great archer Arjuna, there will be four things: Shri, all the opulence; victory, Vijaya; Dhruva, determination; and morality. That is my opinion. So with this, Bhagavad Gita ends. Thank you very much for patiently being with us for so many days. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So I will not be taking any questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.